So today we're looking at how to use watercolour for urban sketching, and we're going to be doing this step by step so you can see the process as we go. Now there's a little story behind this scene here. This is in Sheffield. This is quite a sort of urban part of the city that was originally workshops and things and factories. I took my little girl to a play centre where they have those huge crazy inflatable things, and she spent an hour drinking nuclear orange juice and jumping around on those things, and I just took the time to go for a walk because it was such a beautiful day, really crisp winter's day. And just around the corner from this play area there is this amazing little urban slice of life, and there was something about the blue skies and the colours of the signs really that really attracted me to this scene. And here you can see the sketch of the scene that I did. I've also got a photo of me sketching it. It would have been nice to be able to record the sketch on in situ, but I didn't really have the means to do that at the time. But what I thought I would do for this is I would do minimal colour scheme for this, where I can leave some bits unpainted and then leave other bits, obviously quite brightly painted. And that would be a really fun little process. I'm going to not paint the pavement at all, or this wall on the right hand side. So I'm going to kind of leave a slice unpainted going from halfway up from the sign on the far right hand side all the way across the top of the wall there. But the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in a background colour, and the background colour is going to be like a base. And then I can add in, obviously, colours over the top of that. But so what sort of background colour? Well, I'm going to be looking at this. If you imagine this area here on the drawing, so on the top of the archway, there's a kind of yellow that runs along there. That's a nice sort of highlight colour. It's quite similar to the... it's going to be basically... I'm going to just cut the lines in to suggest the angle of the banking, and then I could use a bigger brush for this, couldn't I, really? It's a little bit too small. So this drawing was done with some fine liners. I started with a 0.1, I think, and then I went in with I think I had a 0.1 and a 0.5 with me, or something like that. It might have even been a 0.8. And that's often what I will do, is I will draw lots of little lines with the thinner one, and then right at the end I'll go in and I'll draw some, wider ones with the... just realised the washing machine's on upstairs, so if you hear some strange banging and whirring, it's that, honest. And zoom in a little bit and you can see there's some darker stones that are slightly greener. So there's no harm in adding a little bit of detail in now while that's still wet. Let's look at some of these areas over here. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of shadow in this picture. There's going to be quite a lot of shadow detail going in because it's really dark as you get down here. Okay, so that's probably layer one-ish. One of the things we have to try and draw under this bridge is this vivid yellow lime colour, so I'll try and put that in. It's like a lime green. Now that is a really strong colour. Well, I don't really have anything that exact colour, so I'm going to put this in and then we can just put the black over the top of it. So I am not going to put any water on first. I'm just going to go straight in with the paint here. So I'm thinking is that any area that I don't want to brush, I don't want to actually paint over. Well, there's some posts that I probably don't want to paint over. There's some chimneys behind. There's a few posts here I don't want to paint over. So I've got to think about that. But primarily, no, I can just crack on. And there's a lamppost here that I probably don't want to paint over. But I don't want to be too precious either. I don't mind leaving a few white bits. I quite like that, in fact. Watercolour behind there. And then I'm going to come up at a bit of an angle like this. And I'm going to do the same, picking up on those lines and then fade that off like that. So it's a very quick gestural thing, but I think it's sort of it's quite sympathetic, if you know what I mean, to the image. Oh, it's really nice when you mix just the perfect amount of watercolour for a wash. It's very satisfying. So now I'm going to use a hairdryer again. I'm just going to dry off that sky, and then we can go in and do some more. You know, I'm looking at this, and there is so many beautiful colours and textures and things in this wall that I want to put a little bit more of those in first. But also in this layer, I can do a lot more. I can start putting foliage in. I can start doing just a whole layer over the top, really. But over here, we have a tree. So I'm going to take some Van Dyke Brown. I don't want to go for a very dark colour. And I'm going to hold the brush towards the end like this. And I'm just going to kind of vaguely put in some tree shapes. And as I said before, you know, we're not being too fussy. I'm just putting a few little tufts of grass in to try and suggest that there is some green stuff happening there. Dots to suggest leaves on the tree. A bit of texture won't go amiss. And then I'm going to head back to this green area. And I'm going to add in some foliage. Hey, check out John Harrison. He was really the artist that inspired me to take up line and wash as an art form, really, because, you know, I've always been a drawer. I've always drawn, and I've always enjoyed doing a little bit of painting, but it was really his artwork that it's all his fault. And then there's Brian Ramsey. I love his stuff too. Now I'm going to take a bit more of this sap green, which is a lighter green. And I'm going to just add some of that in here to try and lighten up some of these areas, because the undersea green is great, but it can be a bit dark. So the final colour blobs are going to go in with the Posca pen. But there is other areas that are really quite dark in this, which I could start to sort of layer in. So I'm going to mix up some Van Dyke Brown there and a little bit of French ultramarine, because I don't mind if there's a bit of granulation in those areas. And that's going to be quite a dark colour. We'll put a tiny bit more water in there. I just don't want it to be too dark. And then obviously, as you can see, these areas under the bridge are really dark. So I could start putting some of those in. Can't be a standalone shadow, because it's going to look odd. So that makes me think that shadow might have to continue up this wall. I think I might have to do that, you know. And also, there is a shadow that runs under the bridge here. It's interesting how when you're doing drawings like this, using minimal colour, sometimes you have to make a decision and actually just go for it. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter, because there's no right or wrong. And also, every single piece you do is an opportunity to learn something. Okay, so we've gone there, haven't we? We've done that. Sort of committed now. I like it though. Blue, grey. So I'm going with a mixture of French ultramarine and a little bit of Van Dyke Brown. And we're going to go for it. So we're going to say that this is all shadow under here. Okay. And then just put a little bit more in that area up there, because that can always be a bit darker, actually. I think that top bit, don't think that needs it really. If it is too dark, I can always lift off some of the pigment, but we'll dry it and we'll see what it looks like. So despite what I said before about going in layers and doing it a little bit at a time, I think that's probably a little bit heavy, that. So what I might do is get a little bit of water on the brush. I know this has dried, but I'm going to go back into that area and I'm going to dry it again. And then like that. And I'm just going to pull that out like that. I'm going to just try and introduce a little bit of texture back into here, because as I said before, it's ended up looking a little bit flat. Okay, that looks a bit better. It didn't need much, just a little. I'll put just a few little dots of the yellow ochre colour back in and just try and break up like that slightly lighter tone. I'm fiddling anyway. So yeah, I think that's fine as it is. What I'm going to do is red circles. Okay, so we'll start with this one back here, which is warning people that the bridge isn't that tall, so I think 2.8 meters. You'd be struggling to hit the top of that though if you were cycling, I think. And then this red is actually probably a little bit dark. It could be a little bit punchier, I think. A little bit more orange, but never mind. You get the idea. I quite like this fading down here. I think I could put some splats of green in there, and I could pick up some of that red and put some dots of red around the place, but I think that would be a bit of an affectation. Not that I don't mind that. So this is a pretty minimal watercolour approach, but you've seen the steps as we've gone through, and you've seen how I've been thinking about what to apply, which technique where. So I hope that's been of use. And I just want to reinforce it again, one more time, that there's no right and wrong way here. There's just playing, just approach your art very much like play, and just try to put a bit there and drop a bit of paint there, As you can see, if you do overwork it, you can still pull out some of the paint. It's not the end of the world, but I would encourage you to sort of go slow and just mess about. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a really fun one. I love that scene. As soon as I saw it, I thought I'm going to have to sketch that, and it's actually turned into quite a nice page in my sketchbook. So winning, #winning. All right, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.